Dr. Shabir, welcome to Let the Quran Speak.
Pleasure to be on.
We are looking at heroic figures in Islamic history, and now we come to Uthman. He was the third caliph of Islam, Dr. Shabir. Tell us a little bit about Uthman.
Yeah. Uthman came to be known in Islamic history as not only the third caliph, but one who was very supportive of Islam during the time of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And his story goes back to, his coming to embrace the religion of Islam. He came to Medina. He heard Abu Bakr radiallahu anh talking about the religion. He became convinced. Abu Bakr brought him to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and he embraced Islam. Uthman bin Affan was a rich person. He was a cloth trader, and he expended much of his wealth in support of the Muslim community and the mission of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. It is known that on occasion the Prophet, peace be upon him, asked for some contributions from the community, and he said that, okay, I will give 1/3 of what is needed. And so he came to be known as Uthman al-Ghani, the rich Uthman, and he should be known as Uthman the generous as well. Now, he was close to the Prophet, peace be upon him, at heart, so close that the Prophet, peace be upon him, selected him as a son-in-law, marrying his daughter Ruqayya to him, and eventually Ruqayya passed away. And Uthman radiallahu anh married another daughter of the Prophet, peace be upon him. Mm-hmm. And so he came to be known as Dhun Nurayn, the possessor of two lights, or the one who has two lights, because the two daughters of the Prophet, peace be upon him. So he has this very significant distinction that the Prophet, peace be upon him, had such confidence in him as to marry off his daughters to him one after another.
Dr. Shabir, there's so many different personalities in Islamic history. Some people are very strong and bold and brash, and then others are quiet and gentle. And I feel like Uthman, he had this personality where he was very modest and shy, which is different from the other heroic figures that we've looked at. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, and this difference that you've noted, Safiya, is important for us to recognize. We've been telling the stories of all of these heroic figures, and we didn't stop so much to think about what it means for us today. But one of the things we can draw from this difference that you're noting among the various personalities is that we can be different personalities in one community, each serving in a different way, but all like spokes in a bicycle wheel, holding the entire system together. So Abu Bakr radiallahu anh was very gentle, Omar was brash, Uthman is shy, and so on. Just like the fingers of the hand, the opposing thumb, but they all perform a function, or the teeth in one's mouth. Each, one is good for tearing, one is good for chewing, and so on, and grinding. And each has its own distinctive function, but they all work together. Mm-hmm. So yes, Uthman was known to be shy, and one of the stories that illustrate this is that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was sitting with two of his companions, or rather he was sitting with a part of his thigh exposed. And Abu Bakr came in, the Prophet, was the same way. Omar came in, the Prophet was the same way. Those are the first two caliphs. And Uthman came in, and the Prophet covered up his thigh. And he explained his action with reference to the modesty of Uthman. Uthman would have been uncomfortable. So the Prophet, peace be upon him, did that in deference to him. Uthman was, of course, the caliph, and that required more than just one couldn't be too modest being a caliph, otherwise one wouldn't function. So in his capacity of caliph, naturally he had to oversee many governors and appoint and remove persons from various posts because he had a large territory to look after. But in some of these appointments, he took into confidence people whom he knew and trusted, many who were his own relatives. And that led to some dissatisfaction among opponents who eventually would oppose him for this, to the extent that eventually they would assassinate him.
Dr. Shabir, can you talk about one of his greatest legacies, which is the standardization of the Quran?
Yeah, the Quran was revealed to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, by God by the agency of the angel Gabriel, according to Muslim belief. And the Prophet, peace be upon him, then recited that Quran that was infused into his mind to his companions. And his companions received it, wrote it down, memorized it, and so on. And by the time of Uthman, it is noted that some Muslims are reading the Quran slightly differently from some others. And they're quarreling with each other over this, like whose recitation is better than the other. So there was a need for a standard reference so that if one is reciting, how do you know you're reciting correctly? Or how do you know that your recitation can be traced back to that of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him? So there needed to be a common reference, and Uthman set out to make this possible. It is narrated in Sahih al-Bukhari, one of the most authentic collections of narratives about the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and his early community, that Abu Bakr, during his caliphate, had designated Zayd bin Thabit, one of the scribes who wrote down the Quran in the time of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, to go around to other companions of the Prophet and collect all of the written pieces of the Quran. Because the Quran by that time was not publicly available in a single volume. Various individuals had various pieces that they had copied from the time of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. So Zayd's task within that 2 years period of Abu Bakr's caliphate was to go collect all of these written pieces and then transcribe them into a set of sheets, which were then left with Abu Bakr and then in the possession of Omar during his caliphate after Abu Bakr died, and then in the possession of Omar's daughter, Hafsa. Uthman's task was to publicize this document, because you can say that was left for safekeeping, so at least we know we have a written record. But now, how can we get this written record into the hands of the populace? He directed Zayd bin Thabit, and along with him some other persons who were known for their excellence in the Arabic of the Quraysh, the tribe from which the Prophet, peace be upon him, had emerged. Because it was thought that, okay, the Quran was revealed to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, it must be in his dialect, the Quraysh dialect. So get the persons who will work with Zayd bin Thabit to copy what he had already compiled into a number of copies to be sent to the various parts of the Muslim empire. So copies are said to be sent, maybe 4 or according to varying narratives, up to 7 copies, various parts of the Muslim empire. One was kept in Medina, obviously, with the caliph. One was sent to Mecca and to Basra and Kufa and Syria, so that Muslims everywhere could be reading the same standard copy of the Quran. And today, when manuscripts of the Quran are found, they're all, with the exception of one, said to be by academic scholars the Uthmanic manuscript. So, they bear his name because they all go back to his standardization of the written copy of the Quran for Muslims.
We'll leave it at that, Dr. Shabir.
You're welcome.
Assalamu alaikum.
We have some exciting news to share with you.
As you know, Let the Quran Speak has been on TV screens and social media for 22 years.
We've been reaching people all around the world, spreading positivity and good, and helping people experience the beauty of Islam and the accomplishments of Muslims.
We've been shooting in this very space for the past 2 decades.
And now, with the help of Allah, we're about to get the keys to Muslim Media Hub.
If you like what we're doing, you're going to love Muslim Media Hub even more.
Because it's the next step up.
Think new TV shows, podcasts, social media content, and films.
We'll have new talent, more youth, and a lot more space and resources to do what we love. Spread the message of Allah.
Our Muslim Media Hub costs $2.4 million.
And for that, we need to raise $300,000. Please give whatever you can. Every dollar counts.
It's our collective responsibility to share the message of Islam with our fellow human beings. Please help establish Muslim Media Hub so we can do this.
It's a sadaqah jariyah, something that will continue to be of benefit to the Muslim community long after we are gone.
Thank you, and may Allah bless you and your loved ones today and always.
Assalamu alaikum.